From blueprints to booming businesses, from groundbreaking to grand openings, this is Beyond the Blueprint. Join host Brad Howard as he takes you behind the scenes of growth and development in Mooresville, Lake Norman, and beyond. We're talking with the decision makers, the planners, the visionaries shaping our communities, giving exclusive insight into what happens before, during, and after projects that define our region. The future is being built right now. Let's go beyond the blueprint.
Good Friday afternoon. This is Beyond the Blueprint on WSIC. I'm Brad Howard, and thank you to those listening on the radio, tuning in on 105.9 FM, 100.7 FM, 1400 AM, or if you're listening on social media or at WSICnews.com or on the WSIC News app. This episode is worth listening to today. Local elections decide what your daily life actually feels like. Who makes the decisions that affect your family's safety, security, and quality of life every single day? The decisions that determine how crowded your child's classroom is, or whether there's an ambulance or fire truck close enough when something goes wrong, and how much of your paycheck goes to property and sales tax. All of that is shaped far more by county commissioners and town boards than by anything that happens in Washington, D.C. In fact, growing counties like Iredell, local decisions set the trajectory, where the schools get built and where, how we balance new development with rural character, and how aggressively we go after jobs and investments in places like Mooresville, Troutman, Statesville, Harmony, Love Valley, and the greater Lake Norman region. When you vote locally, you're not just choosing a party. You're choosing the individuals who will manage growth, protect quality of life, and make sure your tax dollars actually show up in visible services. That's why the conversation matters. That's why this conversation matters. Iredell County is at an inflection point. Strong economic development, a booming population, and a real strain on infrastructure and services. The people sitting on the Iredell County Commission over the next 4 years will decide whether we keep up, we fall behind, or we overcorrect in ways that hurt long-term opportunity. Local elections are where you have the most leverage as a citizen, because turnout will be lower, margins are smaller, and a few hundred votes can change who's writing a budget and setting the priorities for your community. This special series is focused on the 2026 Iredell County Commissioner race and what it means for growth, roads, schools, and your tax bill. In fact, this is part 3 of a 6-part interview series. Our goal on Beyond the Blueprint is to bring all 6 Iredell County Commissioner candidates to the microphone, to give voters direct access to the actual people running for this seat, their backgrounds, their thinking, and their vision for where they would take the county. Because communication with voters and active community involvement is at the heart of what local elected leadership should be. You deserve to hear directly from the candidates themselves, not sound bites, not Facebook ads, but real conversation about their experiences, their priorities, and how they make decisions and how they will make decisions. I want to be transparent. We've reached out multiple times to all 6 candidates in the race. We've still not received a response from the 3 incumbent commissioners. We are extended scheduling flexibility, and the door remains open. We welcome them anytime. Voters deserve to hear from all the people running for this office. If you're an incumbent and you would like to join us on Beyond the Blueprint to talk directly with the voters, we're ready and excited to have the conversation. My guest today is Lisa Meier. She's a global business executive turned Mooresville entrepreneur and community leader. She spent 25 years building organizations and managing complex decisions at scale, and who's now bringing that entrepreneurial mindset, operational mindset, to her campaign as Iredell County Commissioner. She's not a typical political candidate. She's a fractional CEO. She's a planning board member, and someone who believes county government should be run with the same strategic discipline and accountability as a successful business. This conversation is about who she is, what she's seen in our county's growth and planning challenges, and how her background translates into the kind of leadership we need managing Iredell's next chapter. Lisa, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Brad. Thank you for having me, and thank you for giving this platform to all the candidates to share. So much appreciated.
Thank you for joining us, and welcome to Beyond the Blueprint, and we're going to jump right in. So I want to start somewhere where maybe people don't expect your actual story.
Okay.
You're running for Iredell County Commissioner, but come from a very different world than typical local politics. So walk us through it. Where are you from originally, and how did you end up building a 25-year career in consumer electronics, product distribution, and global business leadership?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So I'm originally from Indiana, and I grew up on a farm myself, so I love the farms here in the county. It's beautiful. My family had, one of my family members has many, many acres that they farm, soybeans and corn. So, it gives you a different perspective of life, quite honestly. It's a slow more slow pace, really lets you be in touch with your person, yourself. And so that was an incredible background. And so starting there, just going quickly to my career, graduated from undergrad at Ball State University in Indiana, and took a couple different roles. But where I really found my stride and my love was at the company you mentioned. It was a consumer electronics company, very large, global, headquartered in France. And that was a really interesting path for me. And I learned a ton from just the process I went through. So I started in a basic customer service role, and went up through the organization, really led by some incredible mentors that guided me. Don't run fast just to be at the top of a ladder. Really take your time to build your strengths by sitting in all the different roles, build that foundation. So as you grow, you really understand or manage your blind spots. So you're looking at everything from all angles. So I had a chance in my career in that particular organization to sit in just about every role, and then fortunately leading a large global business there. So had some incredible teams. 2/3 of those teams sat outside of the U.S. So you're working with different cultures, different complexities, just from personalities and understanding and cultural barriers, and then also some quite complex budgets to manage, all the footprints you have in different countries. So I had an opportunity to do that for, that was a publicly traded company. I also did it for a privately traded company that was headquartered in the UK. Similar background in industry that was all consumer electronics. And then I also worked for a company that was headquartered in the US, and that opportunity was all services. So I've sat on both sides of the fence, learned really some incredible business acumen through the process, and really looking forward to put that forward. So that was professionally. Personally, my husband and I moved here in 2014 for no other reason than the quality of life that Iredell County offers. And it really, as somebody said the other day, it's a hidden jewel. We know it's not so hidden anymore. We can go through my definition of quality life. I know they're each different for all of us. So that's a little bit about my background. I have 2 children. One is graduated from UNC Charlotte. She works down in Corning, and then a son that is currently an assistant at Lake Norman High as a junior.
Okay, and we'll continue that. We're moving right along, so we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. This is Brad Howard, joined by Lisa Meier, who is running for Iredell County Commissioner. We'll be right back. And we're back on Beyond the Blueprint. This is Brad Howard. I'm joined today by Lisa Meier, who is running for Iredell County Commissioner. And we were talking just at the break, and I want to touch back on, before we jump into the next segment, what we were discussing. You would run a $600 million business unit for Thompson, which is, at scale similar to the county, Iredell County's budget.
I believe it's just about double.
Okay,
yeah.
Double the budget.
Yeah.
Okay, so at scale, you've run a company that is twice the size of Iredell County.
Yes.
So what does it actually mean to manage at that kind of scale, and what skills would you say transfer over from that world into county governance?
Yeah, thank you, Brad. So there's several things that come to mind. First of all, every business has its own unique complexity. So I wouldn't want to simplify what our government structure represents. That being said, the complexities run from top to bottom. Every line item in a P&L is part of that complexity. How you bring visibility to it is part of that complexity. But just from the standpoint of running a business and what skills are transferable, leadership is critical to the direction of a business and its performance and its ability to win and succeed. You define that and you build your teams around that. So there is one critical element when you're working with businesses is creating a culture that people thrive in. And so that's probably one of the key transferable skills that I feel strongly I could bring to the county commissioner role is the ability to bridge conversations, really dig down and understand the key elements that we want to bring forward as part of the decision making, and then talk through what is an optimal scenario that works for this county. So definitely leadership qualities, the ability to build the culture or opportunity for people to share and feel comfortable sharing, but agree to disagree. And then when we agree, we align behind that, and we move fast to get it done. So those are probably some of the key elements. I can talk about transparency. My style is transparent, accountable, responsible. A P&L like that requires you to understand every line item in the P&L and what's happening with those funds. And at the end, in a corporate environment, you're held accountable. There isn't any gray area. It is the results that you post, especially in a publicly traded organization. So from that standpoint, I think I can bring those skill sets that build a cadence that we need to really stand by and reference and use as a baseline as we continue to map out our budgets, hold ourselves accountable, set the metrics in place by which we're measuring ourselves and others in the county, and then at the end deliver that and use that as our benchmark for the following year. So those are some key things that answer your question.
It does. And now as we jump into the next segment, we're going to talk about your community involvement and why you're running. So I want to ask this question because you've lived here a while,
yes,
but you haven't lived here 40 years.
No.
Right? So yet you've gotten involved pretty quickly in meaningful ways. You're on the Iredell County Planning Board. You're involved in United Way. You're active in different community initiatives. So one thing that I'd like to understand is, number one, what prompted that level of engagement? What made you say, I want to get involved, I want to be involved in the community? And was there a moment you thought, you know what, I just need a seat at the table because I'm tired of being in the bleachers? Walk us through that
Sure.
transition in your life. How did you get here?
Yeah, sure. So when I left the corporate environment, I started my own consulting business, actually with some other executives. And, we had this grandiose idea. We were going to support other businesses and help them go through transformation and, incorporate AI in the workplace, things like this. And what I quickly realized is, and you learn from your challenges and how you pivot, is that business really just wants a partner in a different way. And so it was kind of that aha moment that I said, I've traveled around the world, put a lot of miles on a plane, and I'm stepping back and I'm looking at the community that I live in, that I moved to for all the quality of life components. And I don't know that many people, and I'm not that engaged, and I can't complain if I'm not engaged. And so if I want something, then I need to feel what the community has to offer, help where I can. And that's when I decided that, hey, to really know and hear and learn, that requires me to get engaged. So that's where I started jumping in. And I've had a great opportunity sitting on the planning board. That's been fabulous to hear some of the concerns, especially with how we want to represent the land up north. So very aware of the sensitivities and I hear it quite frequently, of the legacies of the generations. And so protecting what makes that part of the county unique. At the same time, there's uniqueness down south. And, what does that represent? And it's a different pace. It's a different environment. A lot of people are, driving up and down the 77 corridor to go to work if they're not working in the county. So really giving myself a chance to represent the county best I can by hearing, participating, and figuring out how I can apply my background. So that is part of the reason I jumped in is I have this experience. I have a passion for the county, and with the growth that's happening, it's important that we have very thoughtful decision making, because it's going to be all of our journeys over the next several years. And I want to give and be a part of that journey, so that it is the growth is supported by all the safety services, school needs, and so on, that will keep us vibrant.
Now, was there a specific moment that you said, I have to get involved? I'm trying to figure out, what was the pivot point that said, I'm going to put my name on the ballot and run for Iredell County Commissioner?
Yeah, it was really, honestly, the infrastructure is part of the challenge we have, okay? And we can say county commissioners, they don't make decisions about that. They can get involved. They may not be the final decision. But the infrastructure so far behind our growth trajectory now is going to be the same scenario with our safety services and our school support. If we're not careful, we're going to feel that same pain. And as I see it, my son is in the school system. I'm starting to see some things that he's impacted by. That concerns me, because it will challenge our quality of life in the very near future if we're not keeping pace. So that was the point that I said, I'm going to jump in and make sure that we're not going to repeat in our services the same thing that we're experiencing in some of our infrastructure challenges.
Okay. Before we get into the rest of the questions, we can dive a little deeper into that if you want to.
Sure.
So what were the specifics? I know when we were prepping, when you were giving me your background before we got on the air today, we had talked a little bit about life safety and those services. And so I'm trying to think how to phrase this.
Yeah.
So Iredell County is a very long county.
Yes, it
right?
is.
North to south.
Very cool.
And it could very easily be broken up into three distinct regions. The south end, the center, which we'll call Statesville, and then North Iredell. All three have different needs, wants and needs, and opportunities. So what do you see in working for all of the county, right? So the south end has its own specific needs, and the north and Statesville, all different. What do you see as the most challenging opportunities in each of those three areas?
Sure. So it still comes back to, I just roll it up very simply to quality of life, because that's defined differently in each of those areas, right? So up north, they like their peaceful environment. They want to make sure that there's not a, crawl happening as we expand our cities. Annexation is, some challenge. So from that standpoint, I would like to keep my ear to the ground to hear what their pain point is and what defines a quality of life. Usually those conversations center around the legacies, the generations that have been there, protecting the farmland. So that is a common theme up there. And so being very sensitive and aware of the decision making that happens that may impact that changes or challenges their definition of quality of life. That is what I've gathered. And I'm really working to hear. In the middle, a little different. Troutman is and the Statesville's growing. It's going to grow quite quickly. And so what is happening in the Statesville Troutman area that can best support the direction that they want to grow and maintain the dense population in the right areas, so we're not grabbing so quickly. I mean, right now, I understand Troutman has a moratorium on growth because of they have a sewer and water problem there.
They have a sewer problem.
Yeah, they have a sewer problem. And so that's a challenge. And that's got to be, how quickly do we address that? And then in the south side, certainly we have growth. I don't want to call it unhinged, but we have a lot of growth that we need to be very diligent about how we're supporting our schools and how we're supporting our safety services. The fire safety study came out There were some clear red flags. Everybody knows it. And, there's some shifting that needs to take place. But really, it comes down to the numbers. We have one fire department, down Brawley. They're servicing 17,000 homes, and you want to do it by square footage, whatever your equation is. They have 4 full-time people. They know they need to address that, but that's the reality now. And I'm not sure some of the listeners realize that impact. So if you're sitting there and you have a fire, your neighbor's house is on fire, your mother, let's say, she lives 10 minutes from you. When you call and they're caught in traffic and they only have 4 people to service it, and there's no fire hydrant right in the area, how much time is that adding to their ability to service that? So I don't know if that clearly answered the question, but definitely different pockets that create different challenges for each. Addressing that personality for each is my goal.
It does, and that's you brought up a very good point that a lot of people I don't think realize is, especially in the south end of the county, we'll call that south of Cornelius Road, where there's roughly 100,000 people. I don't think people realize there's only 2 ambulances down here. One's positioned at Lake Norman down Brawley, and one is in downtown Mooresville. Mm-hmm. And they get repositioned when one gets called out. But that is something that definitely needs to be addressed. And if you're not sitting in gridlock traffic, you don't understand the importance of that down here. So again, we're going to have to take a break. Brad Howard, joined by Lisa Meier, who is running for Iredell County Commissioner. This is Beyond the Blueprint. We'll be right back. And we're back on Beyond the Blueprint. This is Brad Howard, joined by Lisa Meier, who is running for Iredell County Commissioner. We have been discussing who she is, her background, and why is she running for county commission. And now we're going to get a little more into the weeds on the operational side of things. So I guess before we do that, though, I'm going to finish up a point from the last segment, is the 2045 Horizon Plan is supposed to be the county's North Star to look to for the next 20 years. So number one is, how closely have you been following the document? Where do you think the Horizon Plan got it? Mm-hmm. And where is it out of step with what's actually happening on the ground in Iredell County? Pros and cons. So I'll look to you for that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So yes, being on the Iredell Planning Board, many of the decisions we reference the Horizon Plan. Does it fit in the plan? Is it outside of the plan? So it is a good document and vision that helps guide the decision making based on where where the Horizon Plan has suggested pockets of growth. That being said, what I would probably say, it's not right or wrong. I don't know that there's really a right or wrong about the Horizon Plan. Where I see the opportunity is that the Horizon Plan is there, but how we align to manage or control that growth with that operational or Horizon Plan is where I think we have a lot of opportunity to revisit. So what are the phases? What are we emphasizing in that? How are we guiding some of those conversations so that that Horizon Plan, if that's what we've all agreed to, is our North Star, what are we doing to make sure that we're aligned and feeding that appropriately? And we should always check in. I mean, a plan is a plan. That's a Horizon 2045 plan. That's a long way out. We should constantly
several economic cycles.
Yeah, exactly. Right? We should be visiting that all the time and doing our appropriate pivot. So, 5 years from now, I'm expecting that there's going to be an update to that plan to make sure that where we are at that point in time also still fits that vision that was developed.
Okay. All right, so let's shift now to the operational side. You spent your career managing P&Ls, leading organizations through restructuring, improving efficiencies, and driving margins. So county government isn't a for-profit, but a lot of the same principles apply. You have to live within a budget, you have to be efficient, and you have to achieve a good outcome with the resources you have. And my question is, when you look at Iredell County government, where do you see opportunity for better management, efficiency, or strategic allocation, and where are we doing well?
It seems that when the decisions happen and in front of the county commissioners, everybody seems to be aligned. So that's what's good, right? Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of friction there. We're moving, Right. The question is, what are we moving to do? And, if we're just maintaining, and this is where I challenge it, if we're just maintaining, then we're still going to miss that mark I talked about earlier about quality of life.
Right.
So we have this growth trajectory, but we really need to be strategic about what that growth looks like, combined with the decisions we're making to keep up with that growth. So that's probably where I see the biggest opportunity. I would also say, a budget is a guideline on how we spend that money. What I've learned in my conversations is there are some reserve funds that are given to certain departments. If they don't utilize that money doesn't go back into the pool or shift somewhere else. So that, I believe, is an opportunity to figure out how we optimize those funds in the best interest of the residents in the county. So just a quick answer to your question, but those are definitely some areas that I think we could do better, and there's a more optimal equation.
Okay. So this is going to be a hard one.
Okay.
This is on tax and services. How do you think about the balance between keeping our tax rate low and competitive? I'll use the word competitive because we do recruit businesses based on cost of living and tax burden versus funding the services that people actually want. Schools, public safety, infrastructure, EMS. So how do we make these trade-offs?
Well, so the tax base can come from several different opportunities. So one is we really need to focus on our businesses. Those businesses are bringing a different tax opportunity to the county. That being said, we have to keep those businesses, fed with some of our talent. And so we really need to focus on the schools to feed that talent. So I would say, first of all, you have an opportunity coming from bringing in business into the county, and you also have an opportunity to look at other tax options. And, I'm going to go to impact fees. I know that's an interesting conversation because North Carolina doesn't support impact fees, but there are, about 30 different states across the nation that do support impact fees. And so even if it's not a feasible option in North Carolina, using that as kind of a baseline for brainstorming on what we can do differently and what are some of the tax avenues, I think is our due diligence to actually come up with different scenarios. We don't want to keep taxing our residents. That's not our goal. But our residents want that quality of life. So somewhere there's a balance in there that we really need to flush out and see what other scenarios give us the answer to our question and the challenge.
Okay. And on that response, there in one of the previous shows, there was a question on taxing, and it was taxing folks that were from out of town using the hospitality tax.
Yes,
right?
hospitality
the convention
tax.
to visit, the
Yes.
CVB tax.
Yes.
So Iredell County and Iredell County does not collect that on Airbnbs.
Right.
And
that's an opportunity.
that is an opportunity
That's missed right now.
That is missed, and just the amount of that. And I just thought that was an interesting point that was made in the last show, and didn't know what your thoughts were on that.
I 100% agree with you. And what we're finding is,
and the legislators did put that in place so we could do it. The county commission, however, chooses not to do it.
yes, and they, I'm sure, had their reasoning. So I can't comment on their decision without knowing all the facts behind what fed that decision.
Okay.
But what I will say is that the revisiting, when you say the word tax, everybody kind of, shudders. But there's different approaches to tax that don't have to put such a burden on our residents. And so revisiting all of those and understanding and educating the community on what a hospitality tax really does for our community, but doesn't impact the residents directly, is a big opportunity.
The residents don't pay it.
No,
right?
absolutely.
The people that are coming here that are taxing our roads and our infrastructure, they're the ones that pay the tax.
That's right. And I don't believe people fully understand that. So giving scenarios, even what if scenarios, if this happens, then we benefit this way, is part of I would say a job of a commissioner and the community to be able to help the residents understand what that scenario looks like before you just go push it in to legislation. So I say that because I do believe there's lots of opportunity and lots of educational opportunity where people may say, oh, that doesn't feel as bad. Tax isn't one word.
No, tax
that
is
means
bad.
everything. Yeah,
right.
well,
Tax is bad. Yeah,
but there's other ways to maneuver around it.
Right. So a lot of county budgets and services bump up against what our municipalities, Mooresville, Statesville, Troutman, are in Harmony are doing. How do you see the county's relationships with the towns? And is there an opportunity for more collaboration, shared services, or regional thinking? Or are we just doing fine on that front as it is?
Yes. We need more collaboration. Fine is an interesting word. Fine is not what I want for myself. I want opportunity. And the only way you're going to really lift up the county is that the cooperation is happening across, the municipalities with the county, and really understanding what the future of this county looks like and taking the journey together. I don't want to say, we all hold hands, but we definitely need to be synchronized in how we're approaching our growth.
Right. And just open dialogue and communication, because we talked about the issue just a little bit ago at Troutman and the utilities.
Yes.
half their services go to Mooresville, half go back to Statesville. But what happens in Troutman directly impacts Mooresville and Statesville. And if you think about things regionally, what Mooresville does directly impacts Troutman and Davidson.
That's right.
And Statesville, vice versa, Troutman.
We're one county.
We're one county. We have to all sit down. We have to talk and have dialogue and just communicate, and we'll find out that things work out. So this is Brad Howard, Lisa Meier. She's running for Iredell County Commissioner. We're taking a break, and we'll be right back. And we're back. This is Brad Howard, Beyond the Blueprint. We are joined today by Lisa Meier, who is running for Iredell County Commissioner. And we are getting all caught up on who she is and why she's going down this road. So let's jump right into it. Voters don't just elect platforms. They elect people and temperaments. Mm-hmm. You've worked in big corporate environments. You've led teams, navigated disagreement. How would you describe your actual leadership style in a situation where people strongly disagree with your opinion?
So I try to create a culture that allows people to feel very comfortable to express their opinion, their concern, and look at it from all different angles. So, I want buy-in. And even for this county, ear to the ground so you can hear what the biggest challenges are. And they're different from north to south. So really understanding and listening and coming up with a solution that is in the best interest of all the input. So, very open style, very transparent style. And when the decision's made, I want to express and communicate why that decision was made. And, in a culture where you are comfortable to agree that you can disagree and still walk away with, a handshake at the end,
right.
That's the environment that you want, because everybody has an opinion that's valuable, and they want to be in an opportunity where they can be heard. But in the end, a decision has to be made, and you're not going to please everybody. No. But does it move you in the right direction? And in the end, I hope people respect that and support that style. Accountability, responsibility, all that's in my wheelhouse, but part of my style. But that being said, most importantly, I want to hear the people. I want to stay connected always, and that's always been my style to understand and make sure that our culture is a culture people thrive in. So I go back to that word because that's important. It's important to feel good.
It is. One complaint you hear about government, city council, county commission, city, it doesn't matter. The decisions, is that the decisions feel made to people, not with the people. Mm-hmm. So meetings are hard to find, agendas opaque, commissioners not very accessible at times. What I want to know is, if you're elected, what does genuine transparency and accessibility look like from you?
So I'm going to start with just an example. I heard a lot of, transparency is a challenge. So I did look up what I could find in the budget The budget's online. It's there. Anybody could see it. What is not there is what's behind that in each of the line items. And I refer to something called a straw man that actually builds out. So let's take schools, for instance. You have these 3 buckets that are, federal funds, state funds, local funds. How are those funds funneling down to the school, to the schools? What are they supporting? And how is that changing when we're moving funds around? And that straw man allows you to track that and also benchmark it so that each time you budget, you have an understanding of where you've been and then what might be done that would improve that next time. So one of the things is just really understanding from a transparency standpoint what's happening, how the funds are moving, and just going back to, and what was your initial question? Sorry.
On which part?
The transparency. I just want to make sure.
Oh,
I'm answering it directly.
If you're elected, what does general transparency and accessibility look like coming from you? So,
perfect.
So if you're saying you're going to be transparent,
yes,
as a voter,
yes,
what do I look forward from Lisa?
Yeah, you're going to see all that. So thank you. I just want to make sure I'm answering your question specifically. So, it's not just that top layer. It's really understanding what's happened behind the scenes so that anyone understands how to track that and follow that. And as far as accountability and responsibility, I would love to share that. I would love to educate. A lot of people are uncomfortable asking those questions, so they really don't understand, what the financial impact is of certain. I would like to sit down. We could call town halls. We could, be transparent, set up a massive Zoom call. Anybody can call in and listen and learn or challenge, because it's only with the challenge that you keep your mind open. And so, you can follow the trail and this is what it looks like, but it's when people with these, with their unique backgrounds and expertise actually challenge it that allow you to sometimes think differently and may change your direction or your trajectory. So that's my style.
I like it. There you go. You've served on boards, corporate boards, community boards. The Iredell County Commission is a board of 5 people that have to work together and delegate to the county manager. So what is your view on what that dynamic should look like? How hands-on should you be as a commissioner? Mm-hmm. And how much authority should the county manager have?
So the Board of Commissioners is the oversight. They are representing the people, and their voice and their direction and their guidance is critical. That's why they were elected in the roles. Mm-hmm. The county commissioner and their team executes that. And so that is how I see it playing out. And, the board sets the metrics by which you measure performance. The board identifies if you're meeting the deliverable that was committed. And, as long as you're staying connected to the people and understanding if there's something that is at askew and a pivot's required, that is the requirement of the county commissioner board, is to stay connected to the people and make sure they have the appropriate oversight to hold accountability where accountability is due.
Okay, so now let's zoom out. So let's say, and I've asked this question to everybody so far. So let's say you're elected to county commission, you're serving your 4 years. What is the one big thing that you want people to be able to point to and say, Lisa helped make that happen? Not a campaign slogan. What's the actual outcome? Or what is something that you want to deliver and look back and just say, this is what I accomplished?
Yeah. Today, Iredell County is growing at an accelerated pace because of its proximity to Charlotte. It's, on the I-77 corridor. You have Raleigh building the technology triangle. So we're kind of along that path. What I would like people to say, hey, Lisa Meier was a part of this, is really defining more clearly Iredell County's vision, culture, independence from that. So when we bring all these businesses in and, we work to maintain the heritage and, all the generations that were here, we can very quickly morph ourselves into something that doesn't really represent the uniqueness of Iredell. I would like Iredell County, and as we grow and as we take this journey together, to maintain that vibrance that we have, but really in the next generation of what Iredell County is going to become. So I would love somebody to say, quality of life was one of my focuses. Bringing in the tax base that really feeds that quality of life, but maintaining that personality that is true to Iredell County, forms something that is uniquely ours, and people can say that about us at any point in time. So it's not just we're north of Charlotte or we're, none of that. It's Iredell County, and this is what we've delivered: the best students, the best talent. We've got it here. And so how to bring that to life in a different way is what I want to be a part of.
Okay. So now for the voters who are undecided, who know your name, but haven't dug into who you are or what you're planning to bring, the question for you is, why Lisa? Why this is why you? What is your differentiator? Why should they choose you?
Yeah. So I'll go back to something that, hi voters, by the way. I'll go back to that initial comment that I had, and that is about the experience. The experience matters. The accountability matters. The history I can bring with examples of success and really staying connected to, at the time, the business community, but here it's our county community. And my goal is to build trust, and trust doesn't happen overnight. So I can sit here and ask for the voters' support. But what I want to say is I want to build that trust over time. And that trust over time is going to come from staying very involved in the community, listening to the community, and doing my best to represent your voice as part of my voice sitting on the county commissioner board. And that's why me. I have a passion for the county. We moved here because of the quality of life. I want to maintain that and even elevate it. And so through all those components, I feel strongly that my skill set and passion for this county can take us on a journey that it puts us in a better place in the next several years.
Okay, that sounds good. And how can listeners learn more about you and your platform?
So I have a website, lisameiernc.com. That's Meier is Meier. I know that's a challenging name. I blame my husband for that one. So please come visit me on my website. I also have a Facebook page, of course, you can search there, Lisa Meier for Iredell County Commissioner. And just, you can contact me. I mean, I love to hear the voters, and I'm out and about. I try to stay within all the different communities. I pick a day to go to the different towns, and I'm in Statesville quite a bit. So would love to hear from you. Would love to sit down with you. And I'm kind of losing my voice because I do a lot of talking or listening, but, meeting people. So it's been fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Lisa, thank you so much for sitting down today and giving the listeners the real story.
Yes.
Not just the candidate version, but the version behind it.
Yes.
The global executive, the entrepreneur, the community member who decided to step up and offer your leadership to Iredell County. To our listeners, if you want to learn more about Lisa and her campaign, you can find her online and make an informed decision before you vote. This has been Beyond the Blueprint with Brad Howard on WSIC, where we talk with the people shaping the future of Iredell County and the Lake Norman region. This is part 3 of our 6-part series on the 2026 Iredell County Commissioner races. I'm Brad Howard, and thank you for spending your Friday with us, and we will see you next week.
Yes, thank you.